Hey guys, what's going on? Let's talk a little bit about Game 3 here. So, you're going to have to excuse me, first of all. This is not the most recent turn. This game has already ended. But I didn't save it like before the last turn of the game, so what you're seeing right now is where we left off at turn 383. The game ended at 398. So, in 15 turns, I was able to capture Lisbon and Persia's original capital, Watch Me Whip, or Pasargadae. And Watch Me Duff here is Ethiopia's original capital, and things went very smoothly. Unfortunately for Kevin here as Persia and Grant here as Portugal, um, taking over from Andrew, of course. Andrew couldn't finish with us. I guess he's got too inconsistent of a weekend schedule to play around with us, unfortunately. And last but not least, let's not forget that Keith was over here as Babylon. He had these three cities of Babylon and Watch Me Bop and Akkad. I think this was Dur Kuragalzu or something like that, but nevertheless, you can see his spawn was very good as Babylon. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 academies planted by I believe it was the Renaissance era. I was in the Renaissance era. He got up to industrial, and things, unfortunately, I had no choice but to take him out. So let's start off from the beginning here. So I'm Egypt. I start off as Thebes right here. Egypt, I believe, has an avoid forest bias. So I spawn off in the open plains, and things go very well for me right from the start. Um, the thing is, unfortunately, this is Kevin's first game over here as Persia. So what did him in was he did not spawn a city out here, and he was really boxed off from this direction because Ethiopia's right here. He's right. Kevin's right here. And he moved his settler down here, and I just wasn't having any of that, so I killed him and founded Memphis up here. And Memphis did me a great deal of good in this game. This is such an overpowered city spot. It's got bison, planted this holy site, planted an academy, ivory around, cocoa, what have you. A great city spot. I think if Kevin spawned a second city right here, this would have been an entirely different dynamic this game. Because I was dominating right from the start, along with Keith over there, who was Babylon, who I quickly realized you got to take Babylon out before they start running away with it, or else you've got no point in playing. If they're in the atomic era and you're still in the industrial era, then I mean the game's pretty much over at that point. And I turned out to be right. So I start off as Thebes, found Memphis up here, Heliopolis up here. I realized, oh, Antwerp has Kalish. Oh, let's not forget, Japan was here. Japan was like a footnote in this game. Kyoto and Osaka were founded. I mean, they were almost useless cities, but not really. I could build a pretty good navy out of them. Kyoto, at the very least, had good production, and um, Kyoto at least had some decent whales to it. Got to give credit where it's due. And I realize Mount Kalish is going to help me out a lot in the long run. I had to conquer Antwerp this game. I don't really conquer city-states that much, but sometimes you have to. And Japan I took out because that was the only launching point to Keith. By the way, look at the hilarity that is this map. There's this one tile, 1, 2, 3, like 3 points at which this Pangea is connected. It's hilarious that like Keith got this entire landmass to himself. I mean, it's like the game wanted him to win. I mean, speak of the devil, Keith could have even founded more cities out here. I mean, there's some cotton and bananas out here. He could have founded a city here, and a lot of fish and whales out here. He could have and silk. He could have founded a city here, somewhere here, and even down here, there's some sheep and marble. I mean, Keith, from my point of view, also he could have founded a city like right here on the sheep just to reach that Krakatoa over there. I mean, or he could have conquered Hong Kong, either or. But Keith, I think, really could have won the game if he founded a city here on the sheep and maybe adjacent to the Oasis or something. Because I mean, he's got all this entire continent to himself almost. But nevertheless, in about the Renaissance era, medieval era, no, the Renaissance era, when I discovered, let's see here, when I discovered navigation, the frigates were the only way I could possibly capture Akkad, because I think Keith thought I was coming by land over here, which as you can see, is just so massively impractical. Would have taken like 15 turns or something ridiculous like that. Nah, man, I had to just friggin' amphibious assault over here. So I did. Osaka actually could produce ships kind of like half as good as Kyoto over here, which could produce a frigate every 4 turns or something like that. So it's kind of an annoying path down here, but I built like 5 frigates, and Akkad was no match for that spam, fortunately. Kind of annoying, though, that there's only 1, 2, 3 tiles that I can attack Akkad from with frigates. But, I mean, I did not want to make the trek all the way over to these 2 tiles. That was impractical from my point of view. But Akkad I eventually took with frigates, fortunately, and I landed over here, and the thing is that Keith was on cavalry and I was still on knights, so my 20 combat strength versus his 34 was losing dramatically. But of all the luck in the world, his only horse resource is right here next to a cod. So if you pillage that, enemy units get a minus 50% like combat strength modifier because they're lacking resources or something like that. So just pillaging that tile turned his 17 cavalry, turned his 34 strength cavalry into a 17 cavalry, making them much more manageable. He also had a lancer out here, which is 25 strength. I could handle that with my units decently enough, although it was like 33% strength with modifier against mounted units. But I mean, this area was tense. I got to tell you. Um, uh, to my benefit, Keith, for whatever reason, only had an army of those 2 units, I believe. No, he also had a garrisoned unit and a cod. I believe it was a crossbowman or Gatling gun or something. So that really helped me out because he easily could have stopped this landing here, like it was in Normandy back in the 1940s. But fortunately, once Akkad was taken, I mean, it was a clear path to Babylon. There were no units standing in my way. And once I was over here, I was just kind of amazed at how many academies he already had. I mean, it was just the Renaissance era for me. And he already had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 academies out there. And it's just incredible. I have to admit, I don't really agree with 1, 2 academies. These seems like they ate into his food more than anything. I probably would have planted these out here by the coast, but that's all right. Doesn't make that big of a difference now, certainly, but that's fine. Oh, he even had another one over here. Look at that. He planted one for Watch Me Bop. Nevertheless, I had to pillage all of these immediately. I mean, I had 1 cavalry unit, 1 knight, and I mean, Keith's city, he already adopted the freedom ideology as how deep he was in the game. And he took that 33% city strength modifier bonus. So Babylon was almost impossible to take. So it resulted in like 25 turns of me meandering, just trying to tech up because I needed cannons at that point. Yeah, cannons with the chemistry tech, and I was only here like machinery, physics, steel. I needed to get gunpowder and chemistry. So it was like 30 awkward turns of me waiting to tech up because Keith was teching up much slower now that I took those, pillaged all those academies, and even over here. I mean, the city was, I had a spy in there too, so he was producing units like 1 every 10 turns or something absurd like that. They were pretty easy pickings, quite honestly. But that pretty much saved the game right there. I mean, it's kind of funny that we both went random, and he got the best civ for technology in the game, and I got the best civ for wonders in the game. So it was like 2 Egyptian gods, unironically, fighting it out here. Appropriate that I'm Egypt. I mean, that's what I was thinking when the game was going on. Like, this is the winged dragon of Ra versus Obelisk the Tormentor, or whoever the other Egyptian god cards are. I don't remember. You're gonna have to excuse me. This show was like 20 years ago, but nevertheless, it was a really tense moment and turned out to be a great game. Again, let me just say that the first 2 games are also great. Keith also had a decent amount of wonders here. Let's see what he had here. Chichen Itza, great library. That Keith, I notice, always goes for great library. Good for him. That sets him off to strong starts. The Hanging Gardens is a must for getting those citizens out. He also, weirdly, as Babylon, spawned near Tundra. I thought they had a anti-Tundra, avoid Tundra bias, but I guess that wasn't in the cards this game. The Porcelain Tower he built, once he built that, I knew it was over. And the Oracle, another great wonder for after you discover the writing technology, because this has a great scientist point. Nevertheless, that was the end of Keith. I I believe he traded the city away to Kevin for whatever reason. I guess he felt bad about not having it or something, and that was the end of that. Um, so that was the end of Keith. I think the game was pretty much locked in for me right there. Now, from Kevin's point of view, that would have been a phenomenal time to attack me, to take Memphis at the very least, and Heliopolis at the very least, because my entire army was on the other side of the map over here, so I had very little over here that could have stopped them. I mean, just a single road here would have, there's like a mine here and grassland here. Seems like he could have easily taken Memphis with a large force if he wanted to, but I'm afraid this is Kevin's first game, and I mean, even the city states are apparently, weirdly enough, like 100 combat strength. I don't know how they're doing that, but they've got quite the tech advantage. I mean, as you can see, Andrews and Grant's Portugal is at like in their 50s and 60s and whatnot. And that was that. So from Kevin's point of view, I guess planting that settler not near where Memphis currently is was really held him back, because he then planted this "Ooh, watch me" here, which is okay, not great, not terrible. And then I believe these three cities are Ethiopia, so he pretty much had to conquer Ethiopia. He also could have founded a city out here, quite honestly. I mean, this is not a bad spot of 2 silver and a coal and iron and truffles even. Maybe a city like on the silver mine itself would have been a good place for it. But he didn't, alas. Nevertheless, Adwa used to be an Ethiopian city, and Grant took that over. That was the right call, I think. So let's see. In terms of demographics, so let's see. The average is 70. So I imagine Kevin is somewhere in the middle of the tech tree here, because I'm at 83. And yeah, it was just really his spawn kind of did him in here. I mean, capturing maybe Kabul was his plan, but that didn't go too well. Maybe even capturing Genoa would have been the play, but that also didn't go too well, unfortunately. Let's see, Genoa had some... Oh, he already had cocoa, never mind. I get maybe Kabul for its furs would have been to his advantage to capture, but it didn't go that way, unfortunately. So Kevin, with his Persia bonus, I think he missed out on not conquering more than he did, and not being technologically ahead. Nevertheless, let's go on to Andrew and Grant as Portugal here, who actually had a pretty great empire, quite honestly. I mean, this looked better than mine at the start of the game, but thing is that I don't think Andrew built any science buildings, so that kind of left him lagging a little bit in the tech tree. As you can see, he's at like 63% or something, and we're in 1963 here, so that's not up to pace, I'm afraid. But to his advantage, he built the Forbidden Palace in Porto, and he took the patronage tech tree. So he was, as you can see here, he was allied with almost every city-state. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of 10 city-states were allied. Are we missing any? Yeah, I conquered one over here, Bucharest. Or no, I conquered Antwerp, and is there a missing city-state? There should be 12. Oh, well. Oh, yeah, that's right. He conquered Panama City. It's also not a bad spot for a city. Kind of weird crab location now that I'm noticing. It's like out of the workable range of both city-states. It's kind of weird, but nevertheless. Yeah, he had a great empire here. He was making a lot of money here. Let's see. He's making 177 gold per turn. A fantastic result. He had all these resources. Maybe Braga could have been founded like a little bit more north of here because it's kind of far away, but it's fine. What really held him back was not being so advanced in tech that I eventually, took over him first because he was like 2 delegates away from winning the world leader proposal. Let's take a look at the World Congress. Yeah, he's at 30 right now, and 33 is necessary. So, like 2 turns before this, he was like literally 2 delegates short. I mean, what kind of saved me was like having this spy in Cahokia. He bought it out, but then I couped it, and that brought it back under my control. Like, you can tell he has a lot of money stockpiled over there, so he was well on his way to just buying it out, but my spy really saved the day there. That wouldn't have been enough to win. He still needed Hong Kong out here, but Could I have bought that out? Yeah, I've got money too. Bloody hell. I've got 12,000. I don't know why I'm not buying these city-states out. Maybe that's an oversight on my part. Why am I hoarding money, right? All right. Nevertheless, I mean, Grant unfortunately had no navy out here, so in just one turn, I could take Lisbon with all this navy. Because this destroyer is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles away. And I myself have the Great Lighthouse from Kyoto, I believe. Yeah, that's right. The Japanese were nice enough to build it for me. Oh, Lord. What Grant also could have done is he could have kept a ship out here, because this is the only means I have to get to him, is this little choke point of this one tile between the ice and the sheep here. So he could have easily known that I was like coming for him if he just kept his ship out there, but maybe he didn't have that mapped out at this point in the game. But that is something to keep in mind in the future. And let's see, I took Lisbon first, then Braga, then Ottawa, then Panama City. I liberated to my advantage. They make for a pretty good ally. Then I went for Coimbra, Leiria, and then Porto. And after that, it was onto Kevin to finish him off. I mean, I kind of wanted Kevin to win this game. I wanted this game to be closer, but unfortunately, it wasn't that way. I didn't want to spend another 50 turns to just show Kevin what the atomic era is like. Also, kind of funny if it did get to the atomic era, you'll notice that I have only 2 uranium here. I mean, that's more than nothing, but it's kind of funny. In all the land I conquered, that's all the uranium I have. I mean, on this entire landmass, there isn't any now that I take a look at it. Yeah, so all the uranium is strangely in Kevin's land. He's got 4 and 4 right there, and Grant, speak of the devil, has 4 right there. And is there any more? I mean, I don't think there is. I don't think the city-states have any, do they? Let me take a look here. No, I think that's it. It's just those 4. Yeah. Just these 1, 2, 3, and 4 sources of uranium on the entire map. It's kind of comical, but I guess that's what you get when you play on small with 6 empires total. I was expecting more. I remember there being more, but all right, I guess if Kevin did keep up, then he may have just won the game from atomically bombing my cities and ruining my day. But it didn't come to that this game. What we might do in the future is just honestly ban atomic weapons, because I hear that's a thing people do, because it can be kind of annoying to play 400 turns and then, or however long, and then have all your progress stinted because you didn't have any uranium. I mean, we might do that, but we'll see how it goes. Oh, something kind of weird happened. So I atomically bombed to Watch Me Whip here, sent it back to 3 population, and conquered it with some XCOM paratroopers. Because I have Alhambra, and once you stack those 3 rough terrain promotions, you can get an attack promotion, and you can attack on the same turn as you land. So Watch Me Whip is no match for my 100 combat strength XCOM, and Watch Me Whip itself is only at 60 combat strength. Even less so after it was atomically bombed. So it was just 1 turn, and I'm like, wait a minute, why isn't the game over? And then I remembered, oh yeah, Kevin conquered Ethiopia's original capital over here. Watch me duff. So it was kind of awkward that I had to scramble like my armada that I had over here, moved him way over here by Kizil because I wanted to take Watch Me or something like that. And then I remembered, oh crap, I've got to get over here to Watch Me duff. So that just delayed the game by 5 turns. But could Kevin have stopped me at that point? I don't think so. I don't think he had much of an army at that point. He did have great war infantry, so that does show that he was out here in replaceable parts at the very least in modern era. But beyond that, I was on nanotechnology, so literally double the combat strength. So could he have stopped me? The only way I had vision out here was because I think my battleship over here had vision on this tile. No, like I could see this tile thanks to having Ottawa, so I had to land here quickly and just attack straight into Watch Me Duff. Fortunately, my bombers were in range from Porto to conquer Watch Me Duff. I think Ottawa might have been burning. I don't even remember. I think I might have razed the city. But yeah, the game was pretty much set at that point. And it was a great game. I'm really glad Andrew got some experience here. He's told me he's willing to substitute back in. That hasn't happened yet because of scheduling, but I keep asking him. Hopefully, he'll come back and have another good time with us. He had a pretty decent empire for what it's worth. Kind of weird that Kevin was smushed in here, and it seems like Andrew and then Grant and Keith had all these lands to themselves, and me and Egypt, Persia, and Ethiopia were just smushed in the middle of the map here, as you can tell. That pretty much was the end of that. I did tell Andrew to build Fatorias everywhere, so that I think did a great deal for his happiness, because you'll notice every city-state has a Fatoria in it, so he did a great job with that. I don't know about these. I don't know about Kizil. I just don't have that upgraded or updated on my map. But it looks like he's got every city-state with a Fatoria, so he did great with that for Portugal. And by the end of the game, he could also afford some more cities out here in Lyra. Has some decent food and happiness to it, and oil as well. And Funchal here was kind of a weirdly good city spot. It's got crabs and fish and coal and sheep. Kind of worked out for him. I'm afraid he wasn't so technologically ahead that he could handle that. But that was that. So a great game. Just want to thank everybody for coming out. And I had a lot of fun playing. I can only hope Kevin and Grant, despite losing, had some fun and learned some more. And I think in our games 4 and 5, they're already doing better than they were. I think those games will be even better than games 1, 2, and 3. Well, not 1 and 2, because only Keith was present for those out of our lovely colleagues. But nevertheless, game 3 was already an improvement. I'm having a great time. Really grateful for everybody coming out. We're having fun. I hope people aren't getting butthurt at me winning. I hope eventually Keith wins again, and I hope Kevin can be competitive again and hopefully win eventually, and I hope Grant can be competitive again and win eventually. That'd be great. So game 3, a lot of fun. Good times.